Hi folks, good evening. I hope today has been a good day for you in trading and in whatever else you do. Today I'm going to be recording a very quick video on trends and trend lines. So quickly, what are trends, and then how do you draw trend lines? Because sometimes if you don't get to draw the trend lines properly on the chart, then you might get fake signals, or you might not. You might miss out on signals on opportunities when they show up on the chart. So we're just going to talk about trends and trend lines. As we know, there are basically two types of trends, and there's a third price action behavior as well. And so price can either be going up, and when it's going up, it does go up in trends. You do know already that price never goes up in a straight line. So you can never see price go up in a straight line. It doesn't happen. That doesn't exist. The price goes up so price ebbs and flows. So it makes an impulse leg, then reverses, impulse leg, reverses. So there are three price behaviors that can happen. So price can either be going up in an uptrend, and that's a bullish price action, or price can be going down in a downtrend, and that's what's known as a bearish price action. But there's also a third one, the price is neither really going up or going down, not going down. So that will be known as a ranging price behavior. So how do you define trends? Very simply, very simply, you define trends by when price is making higher highs and higher lows. Now, if I'm going to trace the action of price when it is making ebbing and flowing, highs will be the peaks. So when you have a mountain, the peak of a mountain. So in this case here, in this sketch here, so those will be the peaks, and these will be the troughs. And so the definition for an uptrend is when price is making higher highs, which simply means that this high here is higher than this high here, and this high here is higher than this high. But you remember, price goes this way, it goes from left to right. So this high is newer than this high, so, and then it is higher than this high, so that's a higher high. And this one here, it being the current high, is also higher than this one. And the second part of that is that it's also making lower and higher lows. So you get the lows down here, and each low it creates is higher than the prior low. Okay, I hope that's clear. But if you have any questions, please do comment on the comment area. Now the next one is the downtrend, so which is like a reverse of the uptrends, the bullish trends. In this case, when price is making lower highs, so you can see that this high is lower than that high, and this high is lower than that high. What do we mean by lower? You can see the level of this, because we'll be looking at price, and typically we'll be looking at price at this level here. And when you look at this level here, and you also check out this level here, you can see that this is this one here is lower than that. So simply put, that's what it is. A price is making lower highs and price is making lower lows, and we can see in this case as well, this low here is lower than this low, and this low here is lower than this low. So that is a simple definition of a downtrend. Uptrend, price making higher highs and higher lows. Downtrend, price making lower highs and lower lows. And then the third thing, that the third behavior of price is when it's neither making higher highs and higher lows, nor lower highs and lower lows, and it's just not consistent. So when price is not making consistent highs and lows in any one direction, that is what is known as a range. So you can see here, this high here is higher than this high, but this one then is higher than this one, and this low is almost the same as that, and that low is low. So not making any consistent directional move. And that's what is known as a range, and this happens a lot. In fact, this happens more in the market than any of the trending situations. So briefly we'll talk about this, and you can see what you can do with that. Okay, so how do we draw? And by the way, I'm going to go to the charts and just show you how to spot these things. Now, how do you draw bullish trend lines? So when price is going up, how do you draw trend lines? And why do you really need to draw trend lines? The reason for any technique you employ or anything you draw on the chart is to kind of help you to, I don't like to use the word predict, but just helps you to spot areas where you might have an opportunity to buy or sell. As it were. And so in this case here, where price is making higher highs and then it's made this high, what am I looking for price to do? Price would then reverse, and then we would then see price do what? Price would then do something like this to the upside. So that's what we're expecting price to do. When price comes back down, then price will go back up, because if it's an uptrend, then we'll expect it to make a lower high and then reverse and start going up again. And if price is going to go up again, what does it present for us? It means it presents a buying opportunity. And so where will be the best place to buy in this scenario here? The best place is where price actually hits the new low, so the higher low after this low here. If you can spot that area, or get the area where that is likely to happen, because again, with trading, what you want is to get the edge, the odds in your favor, and so you want to take high probability setups, and you're not guessing, you're not gambling, you're just taking a high probability setup to be able to and then follow price in whatever direction it's going. And in this example here, we want price, or we will expect price to come back down, make a new high, and then reverse and start going, continue to go up. And when price starts to go up, then we can buy and make profit as the value of the asset increases. Then we will make money. And so how do you draw trend lines? So when we draw trend lines, the trend lines help us to spot areas where that reversal can happen. You see that reversal there, where that reversal can actually happen. That is why we will draw trend lines. And how do you draw trend lines? If it's a bullish trend line, the lines are drawn to follow the lows. Bear that in mind. For bullish trend lines, the lines are drawn to follow the lows. And then you need at least two lows. You require at least two lows to be able to draw a trend line. So if I can get two lows and I can join them and extend that line, then that gives me an opportunity to have drawn a trend line, and as well as an opportunity to spot areas where price can bounce. And all these things are bounces. So this area here where it makes a low is a bounce. That area as well is a bounce, and then we're expecting that it will also bounce at this point here. And so we, in this statement here, the more bounces you have on the trend line, the stronger that trend line is. So if we require at least two, it means you should have at least two bounces off the trend line. But if you find that the opportunity you spotted has more bounces off that trend line, then boom, it's a strong trend line, which means that in the future there is a higher probability that price will hit that point and continue to go up. Okay, just watch this over and over and see how you understand it. But please ask me questions, and I'll be absolutely delighted to come back to you with answers. Right, bearish trend line, which is again the reverse of what happens with the bullish. So here the lines are drawn to follow the highs. So remember the other one, the bullish, we draw the lines to follow the low. The bearish, for the bearish, we draw the lines to follow the highs. And we are then waiting to see if price will come back and bounce off that line, and creating a new high level, but this time will be a lower high. And then we will want to do what our expectation is. Then we will want to take a sell trade to then drive price to the downside, and that's how we then will make profit from that trade. So just like in the bullish trend line situation, you need at least two highs to draw your trend line, and the more bounces you have off that line, the stronger the trend line. Okay, so let's go straight to the chart and just see examples of that. So This is just a random chart. So this is, in this case, is a Euro GBP chart, and this is the H4 time frame, right? That's the H4 time frame, right? So typically, if I just like look at this chart right now, what will I ask myself? What is price doing now? And I can see the easiest way to look at this is just look at the extreme of the chart. So if you look at the edges of this chart, the extreme of that chart on the left hand side is here. Where did price start? You can see clearly that price actually started at this. Let me grab my shapes. So you can see that price clearly started around here. Yeah, you can see that price clearly started around here on this frame that I'm looking at. If you draw the chart, you can, if you move the chart backwards, you can see different things, but I'm just saying where I'm looking at right now, that is visible to me right now. This is where price started, and this is where price currently is currently at this point here, right? So that's it. So if you look at those two now, you can just easily see that if I draw a straight line, price is actually going down. What I'm trying to do here is just to train your eye to immediately you get onto the chart, you can tell yourself, oh, in this frame I'm looking at right now, price has actually gone down, right? So if I look at from the edge to where price is now, price has actually gone down. But the reality is most times you are not trading that whole thing. You've got to be able to learn to see that whole thing as well as then narrow down to this area here, because this is where you're actually wanting to take a trading opportunity to then either follow price up if it goes up, or follow price down if it goes down, or just ranging about that level there. So, but it's good to know once you look at a chart, oh, there's a downtrend, as it were. Okay, does that make sense? Once again, ask me any questions you will have. Okay, so that's like a downtrend. Now, how do you spot things like this when we have these trend lines? Right. So how do I make it look like? If you remember on the presentation, I drew something like so. For an uptrend, I drew something like this. Remember, right? And I said this will be an uptrend because price is making higher highs. Now, some people wonder how can I represent that on this chart? Now, you can clearly see, to delete all this, you can just go quickly, Control B, and then select all and delete. That's it, gone. Right. You can do that by just looking and seeing. If you look here, if I started here, you can see there's a peak there. I need a trend line. There's a peak there. Look, there's a peak there. Can you see that? And there's a trough there. Oh, wow, that's true. There's a peak there. Oh, that's the highest point before price then made a turn and made a turn down here. And there's another one there. And there's another one there, which actually bounces twice there. Yeah, and there's another one there. Oh, the peak is down, is up there. So you can see those are actual points where price turned, whether it's temporarily or more over longer periods like this here. This turn here was a longer turn down to this point here, where we now have this here. You can see that. Yeah, so those areas can actually form those turn points. So if I was going to draw that, I can go like this, and then the next line I'll come down this way, and then because this is what price is actually doing. Can you see that? price is making. So what do you see happening here in this small area here? This small area here, what has price done? So that was a high, that was the next high, and it's higher than that one, so 2 highs, and then the next high higher than that one, 3 highs, next high higher than that one, 4 highs. And what about the lows? You can see that low there, and the next one was higher than it, the next one was higher than it, and you can see that clearly we have in this small section here an uptrend. So you can have in a small section there an uptrend and ignore everything else happening, or you can take the whole thing and just look at it. So if I was going to draw a trend, remember for an uptrend we want to track the lows, so we want to have 2 consecutive lows, and you can see that the way I've drawn this here, and I'll talk about this a bit more. The way I've drawn this here, I've taken this low here. If I try to make this low be the low, you can see that price actually broke that line at a later date, so that cannot be a trend line. Trend line, remember, price ought to bounce off the trend line. So the next one I should usually use is this here. So that trend line would have been my number 1 spot. Remember, you need 2 points, number 1 there and number 2 there, and then price then went up and just kind of bounced there, but broke down, as it were. Yeah, so that's how to draw those lines if you want to follow the smaller trends. So Control B again. Okay, I can delete all the objects. Now I'm gonna take the bigger trends. So I'm gonna take this one here, and then I'm gonna take, you can see I'm taking it to that low there, and then I'm gonna take this one, and then the next one I'll take, maybe I'll take this one, but let me take a bit more down here and ignore the smaller trends. Oops, I want the trend line. Remember that you've got these 3 lines here, so that's the vertical line, horizontal line, and a trend line. So you take the trend line, and I want that down there, and I want that up there. You can see what price is doing. Okay, because I am looking at the bigger ones, I'm going to choose this one here, and I'm going to go this way, and it's a clear one but very steep, and I'm going to go this way, and I'm going to go this way. This is where price currently is. So you can see, and the other thing I'll say as well is the older the point, either a high point or low point, if you're drawing the trend line, you can ignore it for inner trends. So what do I mean by that? I could take another trend line and I can try to, oh, that's actually perfect. So the first one I did, so that was my start point. Then my next point is this one here. So if I just follow that second one and trace it down, you can see that sometimes, so these were the 2 that formed my trend line. So that one there and that one there formed my trend line. So let me try and get us. So that was the start of my trend. So that was the start of my trend, right? And then the second one was that. Yeah, so those were the 2 lines that I used to draw my trend. But what do you notice that happened? Price then went down, came back, and it bounced off. So it touched this area here and bounced off strongly down. So if I had taken a short trade here, I would have just made this money on my way down. Does that make sense? So that's the power of trend lines, and when you see them line up perfectly. Now, you will notice as well that I could have drawn these two here. So instead of, I could have taken these two here. And if I took these two, so this and this, price didn't quite get to my trend line and it bounced back down. And that's okay. That's okay. And once that happens, all I just need to do is to then move my trend line again. So that will then become my first one. And oops. And this will become my second one. And so I will get a line, adjust the line again to just be there. And I'm waiting for price to come back up again, but price never really came back up again, and that's fine. It might actually do that and then come back and retest this line here, and then what will it do? It can then push to the downside. So that's how to deal with trend lines. I must say it now though that in trading, typically horizontal lines touching structure points, and these areas of reversals are structure points. Horizontal lines joining one or two or more structure points are usually stronger than the vertical lines, the trend lines. So levels of support and resistance that are horizontal are usually stronger than the diagonal lines, the trend lines. Just a point to note. Okay, Control B, select all, and delete all. Okay, now I'm going to show you something that will probably be your case when you try to replicate. If this is your first time of doing this and you try to replicate what I've just done, drawing the trend lines, when you select your trend line, you will notice that when you then click and drag to draw the line, can you see what's happening here? You have this long line that is not drawing like my own, is not stopping. Now, some people like to use it, but you will notice, first of all, you will notice that there are these three spots. So when you double click, so let me double click this. So this line now is part of the chart. So it is not selectable. You can move it about. If you move the chart, the line just moves with the chart. And I can select, I can move it, I can move the line on its own. But if I double click it now, you can see that it is now selectable. See these tiny boxes? There will be three of them. So 1, 2, and 3. Now, the middle one, the center one, number 2 one, if you click and hold, you can move this about. Yeah? And then the 2 at the edges are used to extend. So you can extend the lines, make them smaller and stuff like that. And this one as well you can use to extend, right? Now, the way I like to use this is I don't like this at the end of this third spot here. I don't like this extra thing coming down here. That's called raise, because it's able to go ahead and kind of project. And you can see if I drew this as a trend line where I had my first point and my second point, so fulfilling my 2 rules for a downtrend trend line. So I've got 2 points. I've just joined those 2 points and this has extended back. Can you see what price is doing right now on this time frame? Price has got to that trend line and it's just hovering around, and there's a potential that price would then move to the downside, and then you could take a sell trade at this point, anywhere at this point. I'm not teaching today how to take buy or sell trades based on what I'm teaching. I'm just showing you how to draw trend lines today. Okay, now if I want to stop this from moving up, extending this way by itself, once it is selectable, like you've got the 3 dots showing, once it's selectable, right click and go to trend properties. Then under trend properties, if you go to parameters, you can see that ray is actually selected. If I deselect it and come back OK, can you see now that it only has my 3 spots? So the line is shortened to just end at my 3 spots, and this is my preferred way of drawing. You can use the other one, but this is my preferred way of drawing. And once you've done it once, if you want the ray to be enabled, you've got to go in and go do it. And so what I'm going to do now is to extend this line. I'm just going to take the end, and I'm just going to still, remember, I'm marking this level here. So as I'm drawing it down, making sure that the line is staying at that level, and I extend it all the way down to where price is now. And you can see I'm still keeping my eye on this level here and that level there, because those are the two that form my trend line, and it's the same thing here. And if you double click it again, it becomes, you can't move it anymore. Okay, so that's a downtrend. Okay, let's see an example of an uptrend. So let me delete this, double click again, and then I can delete it. So let's go for an uptrend. Right, so that's an uptrend, and I'm just going to take me a line. I'll take the last one, the furthest one away, low. That's the low, and I'm going to try and mark it to this one here, and I will extend it all the way up. And when I do that, can you see what happened sometime in the future? So if you notice, this was on the 21st of around the 26th of August that this happened, and I drew this line and extended it forward. See what then happened on the 24th of September. Price came there, touched it, and boom, that was a buy opportunity and profit to be made. One thing is, you've got to draw your trend lines outward to inwards. And what do I mean by that? You can see if